This transmission is coming to you from the cargo bay. I'm at Elegant Weapon on Twitch, here with my co-host, BC Ness. And today, on the cargo bay, we're opening up a big ol' Camtono of Star Wars. Howdy there, BC Ness. I just said howdy there out of habit, from the podcast Reading Heathens. I suppose I'm gonna get sued by our buddy Daniel T. Lynn on Twitch for saying that. So let me try again. Hello there, BC Ness.
And
How are you?
greetings to you. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Greetings sounds better with our space theme here.
Just testing some stuff out, Greetings. How you doing?
You ever throw spaghetti on the wall?
I mean, no, not really.
Apparently that's a thing you do to like test if the spaghetti is cooked or not, right?
You know what? I just take a bite of it, and then that's how I do it. I tend to not chuck it on the wall, but maybe I should start throwing it on the wall.
Yeah, brought to you by the same people who put peanut shells on the floor of my restaurants, throwing spaghetti on the wall. Just a bunch of mess makers. But speaking of messes, I wanted to talk to you about Star Wars today, BC.
Yeah,
Because that's kind of that's a good tester.
It's something no one's talking about, which I think is important. So
Right.
if we can shine a light on this, I think it'd be good.
If I know anything about the internet, you want to find a niche. And as far as I'm concerned, two white guys talking to each other.
About
already.
Star Wars.
Yeah, add in Star Wars, and then you're double niched in.
I think we've got a corner on the market here.
Well, let me be straight with you here, BC. I've known you for a long time. We talked a lot about Star Wars, but I feel like I don't recall what your introduction to Star Wars was.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it, and Star Wars feels like something that has been with me my entire life at this point. So I was thinking back, to my earliest memories of it, and as and who can trust memory at this point? But the thing that sticks in my brain is a VHS copy at my old house, watching it on some giant thick TV, and I want to say it was maybe even recorded off the USA Network. So I think my mom recorded Star Wars from the USA Network, and it was one of those things where I just have a singular memory of me sitting in front of the TV and then just being absorbed by what I was watching. So I couldn't, I don't know where I started, if it was New Hope. I don't know if it makes sense if New Hope was the first thing I saw, but I definitely have a vivid memory of it being something that consumed me, that existed on a VHS tape that was just ripped from TV.
I love that. I also feel like I don't know, it'd probably be really cool to watch the not widescreen version of Star Wars. To see what pans and adjustments they made as far as the framing. I haven't watched a not widescreen movie since DVD became popular.
Yeah.
But full screen was the only option you had. And then to add on the patina of it being ripped from the television. I own a VHS copy of Alien, which is sealed, that I'm saving for a rainy day, because I feel like Alien might be scarier on VHS. It might be even more claustrophobic. You just get they do those pans, those digital pans over to shit because it doesn't fit on the screen.
So it's a full screen version on VHS?
Yeah.
Nice.
I've had that for years, and I bought it on eBay when I was a freshman in college, because it was maybe this will be something to have. But I reckon VCRs are getting harder to come by if you cared to have one.
Well, if you want, I think my parents still have their DVD VCR combo player. That if you ever should have occasion to need that I have an in that regard for being able to play those VHS cassette tapes.
Oh, that's yeah, that's pretty sick. I would love to borrow that. Now to jump into this amazing interview I had lined up,
Yes.
BCness. I was thinking the first question here, really a hard hitter, is I wanted to
Mm.
ask you what your favorite thing about Star Wars is. And I know that's pretty broad. It can be as narrow as you like it to be. It can be that it's a space western. It can be that there's a Topps trading card of C3PO with a big old dong on it. It's just like,
Yeah. Um, yeah, so full disclosure, I did have access to these questions beforehand, so I've had some time to think about this.
that's right. You haven't
Um,
had access to the lightning round though, so get ready for
no,
that.
I am excited about the lightning round. So there are I've got two answers, okay, for favorite thing because it is a big question, and there are a lot of things that I love about Star Wars. So I've got a lot of favorite things. So I broke it down into two sort of categories. One is my micro category, something very small that is like my absolute favorite thing about Star Wars. And the other is like the macros, the bigger thing. So I'm going to start
So,
with the micro thing.
okay.
My favorite thing about Star Wars is Jedi Knight Luke's green lightsaber.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer.
Precisely for this reason, because it like going back in my memory to those fuzzy memories of my first viewing, there's something that sticks in my head about Luke coming out in all blacks and then popping a green lightsaber. And I was just like, where did that thing come from? It's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I have been obsessed with it ever since. Like I bought an action figure of Jedi Knight Luke well after I was like of action figure collecting age. Like I was probably like, I don't know, 13 or 14, which is still,
Oh,
like
that was right
I
when I
had,
was warming up, maybe.
yeah, like I had sort of like finished kind of like, doing like my main collecting, but I saw um it was that release from the 90s where it was like super buff Luke. Do you know that line
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I'm talking
Power of the
about?
Force, Power of the
Yes,
Force.
Power of the
As
Force.
my I remember that because my mother said Power of the Force, more like Power of the Muscle. Because all the figures were just
They were
jacked.
jacked. Yeah.
Just-
But I saw that figure on the rack at Walmart, and it was, he had the black cape, had the green
he
lightsaber,
had
and I was like,
the little corner folded over, right?
"Yep,
Whatever.
yeah." The cape was all one like plastic piece, so like
Yeah,
there was no like fabric to it. It was just one plastic piece that like snapped around his neck. But he had that green lightsaber, and I was like, I don't care that I haven't bought an action figure in like 2 years. I'm getting that thing, and I bought it, and it's still at my parents' house because it's one of those things. I was like, I had to have it. So the
that's
green
fantastic.
lightsaber is something that like on a micro level has stuck with me in terms of what is my favorite thing about Star Wars.
Well,
It's
let
just
me
like a small thing, but yeah.
a little teaser. I was gonna ask you what's your favorite lightsaber. Um, that's the right answer. In my opinion, that is the correct
There
answer.
is a right answer. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's definitely the coolest lightsaber. He's taking, and it's cool if you look at that lightsaber because you got Anakin's old lightsaber, but Luke's saber, it echoes Obi-Wan's lightsaber from Episode 4 and Revenge of the Sith. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I was gonna say I have a similar obsession with that particular lightsaber, and some recent fan service just really hit home for me because of it. But let's hear about those macro or the
Okay.
macro Star Wars love.
Yeah. So the big thing, my favorite thing about Star Wars, um, is, and I don't want to get too like heady with this, but is the universe that it has created, right? So I think about it as like the sandbox that Star Wars has created for storytelling, for like artistic imagination, for like people to have a sense of play. I think what a movie from 1977 did in terms of culture and creativity and imagination is probably its greatest legacy. And it's my favorite thing too, because I spent so many hours just like playing in the world of the Star Wars universe, and then, you know, having all these stories that are also spun outside of that too. And we're seeing that, of course, expand now with, you know, Disney and Mandalorian and the 500 other shows that just got
with
announced.
the
But like,
mouse and his money grubbing
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. But and there are going to be good things and bad things about that, you
yeah.
know, I'm sure. But something that allows that much creativity, I think, is like is a gift for the ages, and the way that it's able to connect generations around this singular thing that started as this low budget, quirky, weird movie.
I mean, I've been
I think that's my
writing
favorite
it
thing about it.
since I was a young boy. I'd really
Yeah,
been.
yeah, yeah. So, you know, George was able to take all of his Joseph Campbell and create a story that has just like lasted and has inspired people since then, for good and for ill, you know, in some cases. But I think I love that it has created space for like artistic expression in a lot of ways. That's my favorite macro thing about Star Wars.
I would
What
have
about you?
had a very similar answer, and that like my favorite thing in the macro about Star Wars is that my introduction to it was just being tossed in. You know, episode 4 is like, here's an established, used up universe, and we don't need to give you exposition. All right, like,
Yeah.
uh, so that's my. I like storytelling where the main character is confused and relatable, and I'm a whiny, privileged child, just like Luke Skywalker. So
Right.
it's very relatable. I want to shout
Yeah, I
out.
mean,
I want to shout out to the chat right quick. If you're catching us somehow on an RSS feed that I haven't set up yet, or on YouTube, just so you know, we're broadcasting live over on twitch.tv/elegant weapon. Shout out to Trance K3, Kimatsimu, who, whose name I also failed to pronounce during the last podcast. But so moving on from our favorite, oh, and on the micro scale there,
yeah.
BC Ness, I have to say that, you know, there's a million things I could pinpoint, but really my introduction to the Star Wars universe was the X-Wing. That was like what caught my eye. Like my through line to getting into Star Wars involved finding an X-Wing toy at a rummage sale as a 3-year-old and being like, what? This is like way cooler than a car. What is what is
Was
this?
tangent side question. Was that your first Star Wars toy that you encountered, or do you remember like your first Star Wars toy?
Yeah. It's all very clear to me. First, I watched my dad play Rebel Alliance or Rebel Assault on the PC, which is like a fantastic video game. And I thought that was fascinating. And then, like, you know, sometime later, I was in this garage sale, which was really like in the basement of a church. I think they were
Yeah.
actually sorting things for the big church like rummage sale. And I
Yeah.
found that thing, and the youth leader was just like, "Oh, you can have that." It didn't have its
Ah,
laser cannons on it. I remember it
yeah.
was one of those Kenner like, or like maybe even predated that because I was 3. Just like it might have been original trilogy era, but it was missing the laser cannons. Didn't matter. The wings made an X, and it was cool. And at that point, it was like, I need to see whatever this is. And I also got some of those. I got a pack of those micro machines as well that I
Yeah.
then saw, where I got the little X-wing that actually had the cannons on it.
Nice. Yeah, I remember this would have been shortly after watching the VHS tape, I'm sure, but like there weren't like new lines of toys out at that point. So I remember my parents like we drove to like flea markets to look for Star Wars stuff. And I
Whoa.
remember I had like I found like a couple of Ewoks, and then I had a New Hope Luke, which of course, you know, the lightsaber was of course broken out of it, but it's like, I don't care, I want that toy. So like it
Oh,
was a different time before, you know, the internets, when I was like, we'll go to flea markets all around and see, you know, what toys they just have laying around there, you know?
well, that's probably also just like this. Our small age difference is by the time I was into Star Wars, the Power of the Force series had just hit
Yeah.
shelves. So like I
Yep.
was coming into a world where I was watching movies from the 70s and 80s, and there were still toys on the shelves and video games. Like, so it was always like a cultural staple that I didn't have to like reach for. It's just like,
Yeah.
here's Walmart with half the toy aisle being Star Wars, even though there hasn't been a movie in 15 years.
Were you old enough to see them when they were re-released in the theaters
Yeah.
in like the 90s? Because
Yeah, that was
that
rad.
was I remember seeing, like, that was my first time seeing them all on the big screen, was that like 90s re-release of them. And I have memories of like going to see them on the big screen.
And I thought all the stuff that I hate now was really cool. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, that's a new scene. There's that
Like,
robot from Shadows of the Empire.
was like, I wasn't a very discerning critic, and it's like, maybe we should have just trusted our kid selves and been like, at that time, it was a freaking amazing experience. And, we can go back and now and be like, ugh, why did they have that in? It's so stupid. But it's like, I remember not giving a shit about it at the time. So, like, I'm not going to nitpick it too terribly much.
The one thing I remember not liking was the Return of the Jedi has the dance sequence added in. I'm not a fan of that. But speaking of things we
Yeah.
don't like about Star Wars, it's time for question number 2 of this hot interview.
Oh.
And that question is, what do you hate about Star Wars? What's your least favorite thing about Star Wars? And unless I'm treading on your toes, I'm going to go ahead and say we both understand there are racial stereotypes in Star Wars that are not cool and uncomfortable, like that doesn't go without saying. But I'm just going to throw that out there so we can talk about something more fun to hate.
Yeah, let's add the disclaimer that there are, of course, prejudices that have existed for long swaths of time, and Star Wars is not immune to that. So
yeah,
we'll set that in another pile, and look at some other stuff. I was thinking about this, and I was, I have very strong opinions about the Rise of Skywalker.
I'm ready.
In
I'm
that,
ready.
I absolutely hate it. In the same way that, like, I mean, I don't necessarily. I was thinking like this is like a my big hot take. If I was going to give you a hot take, and we could pick it
Oh,
apart
this is
because
the
it's just
place
kind of
for
bullshit.
hot takes.
Yeah, this would be like the bullshit thing, but it's like, is my least favorite thing about Star Wars the movies? Like,
Hey.
and so yeah, so I'm thinking about this minus the original trilogy. There are 6 movies of, like, if you look at them, of films and their quality are bad. Like, I think kind of across the board, like, I don't think that they're particularly great films. I think they're entertaining, they're popcorn, they're whatever, they're serviceable, but they're not like really great films. And so my problem with Star Wars is that, like, act as these totems, these like monoculture moments that everyone engages in, and we all hate them, or we all love them, or we all want to argue about this character who's got 30 seconds of screen time. And I hate that those movies create this like divisive, toxic environment among the fandom about something that I think we should really just enjoy for the turn off your brain popcorn space opera that it is. Like, I think it has gotten too serious about, like, Star Wars is this is the gospel of Star Wars, and if you don't agree with this, then you are not a true fan. Like, the culture that the movies have created, I think, has been really bad.
Yeah, I think that's I'm just saying, I just want to jump in and say I agree with you 100% so far with what you're saying. When the new movies were announced and they were coming from Disney, a lot of people were really upset, and I was like, yeah, I live in a world where corporations do terrible things to people and not just franchises that I care about. And my attitude is, like, generally, if I can go into a movie and I can eat popcorn and there are lightsabers in it, I should like count that as a good day, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing that particularly drives me crazy about the Rise of Skywalker. I know you like it.
Well, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about
it
it when you're done. But yeah.
So the thing that drove me crazy about the movie is that it felt like it broke the fourth wall in acknowledging the fans' thoughts about this movie, which I really hated because it's like I'm supposed to be immersed in the experience of something that happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And what you're doing is bringing like internet trolls into the screenwriting of this movie. And all of a sudden, I'm like, what the hell are we talking about? Like, we're losing a creative thread of storytelling so we can go back and be like, the Holdo maneuver we all know is kind of stupid, though, right? You know, like that's the sort of stuff like winking at the audience. And I'm like, why? We don't need that in there. Why do you have to give so much fan service within your actual movie, like within the actual creative product that you are giving to people? Like, you should be artists should be unapologetic in the film that they create, and this is a corporation being very apologetic about a film that they created, right? Because it seems like the fandom hated The Last Jedi because Ryan Johnson came in and was like, I'm going to make some choices as an artist. And people were like, no, you're not. We don't like that. And so they're like, okay, let's get our corporate man JJ back in here and he's gonna settle everybody down. That to me is in direct conflict with the thing that I love about Star Wars, which is the creative atmosphere that it gives people. Is that when it goes totally corporate, when it goes to this monoculture thing, that it kills those ideas and it makes that creative space just about, you know, the bottom line, you know, how much money can we make off of this thing? Because it's not a creative it's not a creative property, it's a financial property.
That's that is also what I like the least about the Last Skywalker. And to say that I do like that movie, but I also like it because I wanted it to fall on its face. Like I wanted it to be like a big dumb, like I wanted to sit there and kind of laugh and like, whoa, what is happening? So like,
Yeah,
but
well,
what I
if
hate
that's the
most about
intention, then
it,
it delivers
but
100%
even
because there's
within
so many
that,
moments where it's like, what are you doing?
even
You know?
within that context, which is what I was there for, like when Star Destroyers come out of the ocean by the thousands and they all have planet killing weapons, that's very stupid and I was enjoying it because it was so stupid. Like I was laughing
Yeah,
at the movie. But what I did
right.
not appreciate were the moments where it's like, we're gonna clear up the Holdo maneuver, but not really. We're just gonna have Rose Tico sit on the sidelines. I was like, man, you're really killing my vibe here
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
But I do, and also the things that I love the most about The Last Jedi, which is maybe my least favorite, is I love all the weird things that people hate. Like I like, milk getting sucked out of the teat of a beast because it reminds me of when I saw the trailer for the new Mad Max. And I don't like
Uh,
movie trailers in general. I saw that, have no Mad Max experience at the time, and I was like, "This is going to be like this. This is going to be a classic. This is the
yeah.
most amazing trailer I've ever seen." And the moment in the theater that I knew I was in for like a treat was when there's
Mhm.
like a dude with a see-through mask who comes out and is like, I don't know, he just looks insane and not
Yeah,
like not no Disney approved like the image of that dude like pulling tubes out of his neck or whatever. And I was like,
right.
"Oh, this is going to be what I wanted it to be." And it was wildly
Yeah,
successful because of it. So I'm right
yeah.
on board with you. And I do, this is what I say. I think The Last Skywalker is a terrible movie and I love it because it is a terrible movie and I wanted it to be. Like I
I
wanted it to be a big dumb mess, and it is, and it creates a ton of problems.
I mean,
But I
my
kind of
and
wanted
it's
it to be.
and I think it's my fault for wanting it to be good. Like because I went in wanting it to be good, right? Like I genuinely wanted to go see like the final piece of this Skywalker saga and have it be something that somehow, you know, defies the logic of all the other movies that were made outside of the original and was like good. And
Right.
it wasn't that. And I mean, I like Last Jedi, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't like about it, but I rate it higher than I rate Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker. Um, because I I like a lot of what Rian Johnson did in terms of the storytelling and trying to take some of that creative stuff back, which is why it was so disappointing when in the crawl they're like, no, Palpatine's back, and we're definitely going to make Rey a Palpatine. I'm just like, then why did we do that last movie? Like, what is the point of this? Like, it's like, it's like two kids having an argument in the schoolyard. It's like, why are we doing this with
and
a
Disney enabled
multi-billion-dollar franchise?
Disney enabled it for itself, which was absurd because they're like clearly taking shits on their own franchise in some ways, where the better move, even for me as someone who doesn't like most of what The Last Jedi did. And I'll say primarily the thing I liked least about it is that it split up the cast in ways that I was like, that's stupid. And the thing I genuinely like about The Last Skywalker is they bring the core cast together, and it's like, there's our chemistry. Like that's you need Poe Dameron and Finn together because they're two of the only people who have chemistry on screen together. But in spite of being someone who didn't like The Last Jedi, the things that were best about the Rise of Skywalker were honoring the cool things in The Last Jedi, like or things that I didn't originally think were cool, like all the like. You know, there's rain on my hand now because we have this psychic link, or whatever. All of that, like that's where the movie might have succeeded, but instead we ended up with Palpatine, the movie, which I also love, in a way that you know,
that drives me insane because I'm just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, why are we in a stadium at the end with like chanting ghouls? Like, what the hell is that?
I had spent months ahead of that saying like explicitly, I hope there is like Marvel characters that show up. I hope they like teleport into different time zones. Like I want it to be a disaster. And the movie really paid off. Like from the moment it opened, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I said I wanted. I wanted the disaster, the $300 billion disaster on wheels.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing about those really bad movies is it really makes me appreciate, for sure, the first two. You know, like in New Hope and Empire, because those are great films that I love going back to because like they're really well made. They look great. The writing's really good. The effects are fun. Like it's of an era, you know. And it's when Star Wars didn't have to be so like aware of the conversation that was happening around it, because it was just like people got to tell stories without having to worry about, you know, Reddit or all sorts of the internet being a thing that's commenting on what is good and what isn't. And it like that first one is made like totally isolated. There's probably a lot of pressure on Empire, and it turns out to be like the masterpiece of all of them, you know. But it didn't have all that pressure to be this billion-dollar thing. Yeah, there was pressure because the first one succeeded, and now we're doing the next one. But it had the space to be great, whereas, you know, the new ones, because they've gone so corporate, it's like we have to make sure everything tests well with all these audiences and it hits all the right notes. And you know, that's become my least favorite thing about Star Wars, is that those movies had to, you know, meet check marks that I don't think you should put creative individuals in that box. But that's Disney, that's their model. So
well, I mean, you said your favorite thing on a macro scale about Star Wars is that it enables all this creativity, and then your least favorite thing is like maybe the movies, because especially now because they are a corporate entity. And like I totally identify with that, because I was gonna, on the macro scale, maybe one of my favorite things about it too was like Star Wars is as much video games, an expanded universe of like 90s bullshit, as it is the movies to me at this point. Like that's what I was immersed in growing up as much as the movies.
And I'd be remiss not to mention, you know, the Clone Wars and Rebels as like highlights of what Star Wars is for me. It doesn't have to be, you know, a big movie. It can be an animated show that tells like really great stories and can pace itself in whatever way it wants to, you know. So
I just want corridors, I want lightsabers, and I want T65 X-Wings. If you're going to give me some upgraded X-Wing, that's fine too, but T65 X-Wings all the way. You know, BC,
Yes.
being the terrible host that I am, I forgot the third and final big question in the interview before we hit the
Ooh,
lightning round.
yes.
So my question for you is, do you remember what that question was?
Yes, I do. It was if you could
Yes.
direct something Star Wars. And so this would be direct like an original thing. Star Wars, is
Yeah,
this
yeah.
the okay?
Specifically a movie though. It's got to be a movie. You don't
So a
have that. You
film.
don't have the mouse breathing down your neck. In this
Oh,
world, George Lucas has handed his mantle to you,
okay.
and he has passed away under like a veil, kind of
Okay.
like you know that image of Arwen and Lord of the Rings where it looks like she's dead on a tomb. That's
I
where
know it
George
very
is,
well. Yeah. Okay.
and you're his
Um,
heir. You're Dave
okay.
Filoni.
All right. So for the viewers and listeners who don't know, I am a director by trade. Not of film, but of theater. So I have my MFA in directing. Um, and it's interesting because my interest in theater tends to revolve around um, absurdist and expressionist stuff that is not as structured as maybe one would expect of a Star Wars movie. So I don't have anything specific in mind, but I've definitely thought about doing something that is you know more along the lines of you know that in terms of absurdist or expressionist. Like, could I is there a way to do like a really weird piece that exists in the Star Wars universe that's like waiting for Godot, or is there something that is just like a big expressionist piece that is about like mood and tone that exists? That was the first thing that my mind jumped to when I thought about it, because that's like where my brain goes as a director, is like, what's the weirdest thing that I can do and tell a story that is like essential to the audience.
Do you have a
And then adding.
species in mind? Do you have a species in mind? Because I feel like you can go abstract with a lot of Star Wars species too.
I,
Like
I,
Tusken Raiders
yeah, I
come
don't.
to mind immediately.
Yeah, I don't have like a. It's not like a species in mind, but to me, it's like, what would be the most interesting like event that side characters could exist around? Like, I don't want to tell the story. I don't want to do a Han Solo, or I don't want to do a
Right.
Leia, or I don't
Yeah,
want to
no,
do
oh my
Skywalker.
gosh. I
So
was
like,
so glad when they killed Han Solo because I was like, good, his legacy is preserved, at
right?
least for a
Yeah,
while. No,
yeah.
don't need any
We've
more.
yeah, we've taken care of that stuff. Like, and so I think there's probably an interesting story that could be told that exists in kind of a really weird world, and my hope is that Taika Waititi is going to be doing something like that with his movie. The other thing that I thought about um, would be like, like Marvel's big on doing like getting into genre films within comic book movies, right? Like the next Doctor Strange movie is going to be like a psychological horror thriller sort of thing, or whatever.
Right. Which is,
But
let me just say, that is something I have pushed for since Disney took over. I was like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, you should do a political thriller, but a
right.
Star Wars movie.
And I
But
think
you're right. I don't watch Marvel movies, so I don't understand. Like
yeah,
maybe they
yeah.
not doing a great job of it. Is what you mean?
I think some of them are better than others. Like they're the first Captain America is like a World War II movie. Like it's a straight up
Oh, okay.
World War II style movie that's got Captain America in it. His second movie is like the
That sounds
political
cool,
intrigue thing.
actually.
There, I think Captain America is probably the most successful in terms of his first two movies as being like genre movies. Um, so like the political thriller is something that would be interesting, or um, like a noir detective kind of story. Like someone working a case within the Star Wars universe. That's like a gumshoe detective kind of story. Um, I think that could be really interesting. Um, so those were the first things that my mind kind of went to, would be sort of the more offbeat things that exist, during the time of major conflict, but um, told from a completely different perspective that's removed from, the god level characters that exist
Yeah.
in the universe, and what is it like to have, just the everyday person who exists. And I think, you know, Rogue One is probably the closest thing that we have to that in terms of the films where we see, just these are just resistance people doing their work. But so it would be sort of in that vein, but probably even a little farther removed, more kind of almost like an emotional piece about, what is the toll of existing in a galaxy that is constantly at war with itself, and you probably don't even understand why, because it doesn't always make sense to anyone what's
And
actually
you've
going on.
never been off world,
Yeah.
nor do you have internet.
Right. Yeah.
That's
So
something I wish was a little more clearly outlined in Star Wars, because that's, there's a cut scene in Episode 4 where they're watching, like, the Tantive 4 get sucked up into the Star Destroyer in the opening crawl. And it's just like Luke and his friends, like with binoculars, being like, what's going on up there? Like, I don't know. Looks like there's a battle. No, there's not a battle. It's like, there's no internet out here. And it used to be it took time to travel places. Dang it.
Yeah.
It used to be you needed bunks on your spaceship. You couldn't just go zipping around.
I mean, you had to have a fully stocked cargo bay.
Yeah. That's the name drop. We dropped the name of the pod.
That's the name of the podcast. Yeah. So, definitely my style would be something offbeat and probably more personal in that sense. What's the war movie like for the people who are left behind at home and are manufacturing supplies and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, I love that.
What about you? What about you've got any ideas kicking around that we could sell to Disney?
I genuinely have not considered it on any deep level. So I'll kind of audible the question here. What would I direct? I'll say my favorite piece of Star Wars fiction that I've read recently, and I've read a lot of it, and it's all mostly bad. Like, not bad, but like it's not literature, right? Like, it's good popcorn entertainment. They did a canon Obi-Wan novel of him on Tatooine. And so, like, it's not about it being Obi-Wan. It's about it being a disgraced Jedi having to live a low-key life and not get involved in shit in the desert.
Right.
So it is low-key throughout. It's not a big adventure. And then the other half is from the point of view of a Tusken Raider. And so, I might do the Tusken Raider movie if I had to direct something. I think that would lend itself really well to some 2001: A Space Odyssey type motifs coming through, and it would really be through the lens of a native Tatooiner.
Right.
No English dialogue. Just a lot of the struggle against these machines when the desert is already dry.
Yeah, I like that.
All right.
So we're not doing episode 10 for our directorial debuts. Is what it sounds like. We're gonna shy away from that a little bit.
Man, just what a bummer. So much opportunity. But PC Ness, I think it's time for the lightning round.
Let's do it.
All right. Question number 1 of the lightning round. Who is your favorite character in Star Wars?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Nice. Anything about that? I mean, he is the only character who's consistently good through 6 of the 9 movies.
I mean, I'm generally not a fan of episodes 1 through 3, but I do like Ewan McGregor's performance in those movies.
It's killer.
I don't know, he's just stoic Jedi character I really enjoy. It's him and Luke are always battling back and forth, but you just lightning rounded me and Kenobi came out, so
love it.
I guess that is where I'm at. Yeah,
love it. What is your favorite planet in Star Wars?
I like Hoth.
Nice.
I like the ice planet. Yeah,
Hoth.
What about you?
I would say Nar Shaddaa is my favorite.
I don't even know what that is.
Nar Shaddaa is similar to Coruscant. It's like black market Coruscant, right?
Oh, okay.
It may even be that it's an asteroid, and it's not city all the way to the core, as I understand it, but it's just a big floating city in space that's full of scum,
Nice.
Very cool video game level and Jedi Knight, where you go to Nar Shaddaa.
Nice. Okay, I want to go back in lightning round. You favorite character?
Wedge Antilles is
Yeah.
gonna be my first
Same.
because I
Yeah.
think like that's what's so cool about the old school trilogy is we don't need to know who these people are, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
just pop Wedge up in a few movies and
Yeah.
then years later when people have the benefit of watching them in a row, it's like, "Oh my gosh, Wedge Antilles is in all three like major like
Yeah.
flight battles." Like his lore is built outside of the movies. Like you don't need to tell
Yeah.
me he's cool. He's just cool. And
He
so
just is.
man, there's nothing that makes me happier when I've consumed alcohol than watching Wedge get the first like shot on the second Star Destroyer and being like, "I'm already on my way out." And it's like, dude, you don't even have the Force, bro. You're so much cooler than these
It's just a
Jedi.
dude.
He's
It's
just a
a dude.
dude
Dude
flying
flying
his
a
X-wing.
Yeah.
So, third question:
Yes.
what is your favorite vehicle in the Star Wars franchise?
Favorite vehicle. Um. I mean, it's too cliche, but it's the Falcon. I think. Like
I don't think that's an
because
answer that's illegitimate because it's
yeah,
cliche. It is an
yeah,
iconic and strange thing. It's,
but like there's so few ships that are also like characters within the actual universe. With
yeah.
the way that
That's when I was watching episode 7, and I do not shed tears in movies. The moment that my eyes welled up was when the Falcon was leaving the
oh man,
orbit of whatever that planet's Jakku or whatever
yeah,
the name of the planet is. When it was
yeah,
that same kind of shot as in the original
yeah,
trilogy, I was like
yeah.
my eyes were wet.
I mean, yes, seeing that thing for the first time in the new trilogy was legitimately like, oh, yeah, like it had an emotional resonance. It's just the image of that ship because it's so iconic. So that's
What a
yeah,
what a design, man. What a strange and interesting thing to become a cultural icon, which is back to what you're
just yeah,
saying when things aren't designed in a corporate like think tank, you sometimes get art out of it and the
yeah,
profile of the Millennium Falcon is truly it's art. It
yeah,
is
yeah.
like
It is such an iconic ship, and like one of my favorite Christmas memories. Well, sidetrack us because why not? It's the pilot episode.
yeah.
Like, I always wanted a Millennium Falcon. Like, I always wanted the Millennium Falcon toy set, but like, it was always hard to find. Or it was always really expensive. And so, for one Christmas, my dad got me the model kit of the Millennium Falcon, and we put it together on Christmas. So it's like it's the super detailed version of it. It's like I can't,
Yeah.
you can't put action figures in this thing, but it looks so cool. And it was like all of the gluing and the detail, and like the memory of doing that with my dad on Christmas is like something that you know probably influences my choice too. But like like having that, that holding that flat disc in your hand and looking at
Yeah.
all the
And you
different
had the
shapes and the
real
details on there.
if you had a model kit versus a toy too, you get how thin like the ship
Yeah,
is. You know, all the
totally.
toys had these
Because the
big
toys are
beefy
super thick.
middles, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
no, it's this beautiful like
Yep,
elegant shape, which is why
totally.
the Micro Machines. I had the Micro Machines Falcon,
Yeah.
uh, which was cooler than having the big toy because it was the right profile. And even as a 4-year-old child, uh, who like only had a head for like symmetrical aesthetics, if anything, I was like, what
Yeah.
a cool object this is.
Yeah.
Like this thing's cool.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so I don't think that's a cliche answer. If it is
Yours?
cliche, it's correct.
Is yours the X-Wing?
I mean, I think I have to go X-wing because it's given more to me than any other particular craft. Um, but I will say, just not really directly connected, but one of my favorite things about the new trilogy is that Han and Chewie are just on a big ass like freighter ship. Like
Yeah.
I would have loved the Han Solo movie to instead be adventures on the freighter craft, like
Yeah.
the slow
Yeah.
lumbering like
Yeah.
dock ship that can't outrun TIE fighters. But yeah, I'm gonna have to
That's
go with the T-65 X-wing. I don't know, man. It's a beautiful spacecraft. I've all through my life I've been like, nah, the A-wing's the coolest. Never mind, the B-wing's the coolest. Never mind. Never was a Y-wing guy, although I think they're gorgeous. But the X-wing, if I could do anything, if I could be on camera in Star Wars, I would want to die in an X-wing cockpit, and then I would never have to try acting again. And final question of the lightning round.
All right, I'm ready.
What is your favorite piece of Star Wars music? If you can think of the name, that's fine. If not, you can, quote the scene that it's in or whatever.
I don't know the exact name. It's whatever the Force theme is.
That's my answer too. It's the most I don't know how I'm very resistant to things that are sappy and bullshit. But have you seen there's a great YouTube edit of like ObiWan has PTSD. Have you seen that? Well, it just cuts it's that scene where it's Luke and Obi-Wan and he's giving them lightsaber and it's like, tell me about my father, and it's just interspersed of him hanging out with Anakin and then killing Anakin and all this stuff, and he's talking it's one of those those editing things where it's like, wow, look at the performance here that you don't even notice, don't even notice in the original movie. He's legit. If you cut it the right way, he's thinking about trauma, Yeah. And it's got the Force theme under it, and mostly anytime that shows up in the movies, I get a little emotional pull. So yeah, I agree with you. And I'm just gone. It's over.
Yeah, it's simple. It's all you need.
Well, BC Ness, I think that was a fantastic pilot episode of the Cargo Bay.
Yes, the Cargo Bay.
Any final thoughts before we package this box of Star Wars up and put it back on the shelves? I'm sure we might return someday in the future if we're to do more cargo bays. But any final thoughts or wishes for the future of Star Wars?
Well, I really wish a Disney executive was watching and heard some of our pitches for movies and just wants to dump, a few $100 million on our laps to direct something. That would be really great. Apart from that, no, I just thank you for inviting me on to do this. I love talking Star Wars. I'm always anxiously anticipating what will come next in Star Wars, and it looks like the corporate overlord will be sending plenty our way.
Yeah, a whole lot to digest. Yeah, I could legitimately do this every week for hours and hours. Thank you so much there, BC Ness. I'm Elegant Weapon. We stream this live, twitch.tv/Elegant Weapon. We'll be taking questions on Twitch here in just a second, but that's the end of the podcast. So I'm going to click over here and hope that it is the outro music. It is not. I'm going to click this other file that I think is the outro music, and we'll catch you all next time on the Cargo Bay. Bye-bye.